Welcome, everybody. Welcome to the World Wellness Online Conference. We were sharing information that will help you not only during this challenging time that we're experiencing, but when it all settles, it will help you throughout the rest of your life. My name is Tom Nicoli, and I'm going to talk about easy, natural ways to reduce and manage stress and anxiety. I am a board-certified hypnotist, a certified instructor, and a certified professional coach. You can check out more information at A Better You Hypnosis at prosperusa.com. Now, I'm going to speak more quickly than I normally would because I want to get as much information as I can in this time. But first, let's look at what stress and anxiety really are. Stress, a state of mental or emotional strain or tension resulting from adverse or very demanding circumstances. And anxiety is a feeling of worry, nervousness, or unease, typically about an imminent event or something with an uncertain outcome. But let's look at this for a moment. Anxiety, if you really want to break it down simply, is your nervous system overactive. So anxiety is the negative equal to excitement. Excitement is positive, anxiety is negative, but your nervous system's overactive, you're talking faster, your eyes are wider, you can't breathe as deep, and somebody needs to calm you down. So how does our nervous system become overactive? By overthinking. And why do we overthink? Oh, we have doubt, we like to know. And here's the peculiar part about knowing. Every day you wake up, you just think you know how the day's going to go, but we really don't. So the truth is, most things in life are uncertain outcomes. We expect, we believe, we hope, we wish. But the truth is, anything can happen at any moment, which we are experiencing now. So let's focus on stress because the stress is what leads to your anxiety. And when you follow what I'm going to share with you, it will automatically just reduce and release the level of stress and anxiety that maybe you're dealing with. There is good and bad stress. What is stress? Why do we experience stress? Well, we know it as the fight or flight syndrome, meaning the stress response is only supposed to happen when we're threatened. Imagine this now. Only when we're threatened. Yet, people are in a state of stress constantly. Good stress is when all of a sudden, everything in your system spikes so you can get out of the way of the oncoming car. Bad stress is everything else when there is no danger, there is no situation that's going to cause you a problem. It's just between your ears where it's all being created. And I'm going to talk about that clearly. So please listen and pay attention. And as you're going to see, bad stress literally is killing everybody. Now, the Mayo Clinic, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to share some information from a very valid resource or source. And the Mayo Clinic online, you can find this information. And this is not to increase your fear, to make you afraid of anything. It's to inform you so you can take proper action to prevent potential problems. Constant stress puts your health at risk. Your body's stress reaction was meant to protect you, as I've already said. But when it's constantly on alert, your health can pay the price. Therefore, you need to take steps to control your stress. So welcome to this talk. The long-term activation of the stress response system and the subsequent overexposure to cortisol, which is a hormone that's released during the stress response, and other stress hormones can disrupt almost all your body's processes. This puts you at increased risk of numerous health problems. Stress has been called the silent killer and can lead to heart disease, high blood pressure, chest pain, and irregular heartbeat. It can cause hair loss. Hair loss can begin up to 3 months after a stressful event. Stress alters neurochemical makeup of the body, which can affect the maturation and the release of the human egg. Stress can also cause the fallopian tubes and uterus to spasm, which can affect implantation. Stress in men can affect sperm count and motility, and can cause erectile dysfunction. In fact, stress may account for 30% of all infertility problems. Maybe like me, you know of somebody a couple who were quote unquote not able to get pregnant. Then they decided the hell with it. They went on vacation or they just gave up focusing on it, and voila, the woman becomes pregnant because it wasn't a physiological issue. It was more of an emotional issue, an energetic issue that was causing the physiological problem. Stress can also make acne worse and cause other skin disorders. The stress hormone cortisol not only causes abdominal fat to accumulate, but it also enlarges individual fat cells, leading to what researchers call diseased fat. So by reducing your stress levels, you can also start releasing some of the excess fat on the body. Stress is linked to the 6 leading causes of death: heart disease, cancer, lung ailments, accidents, liver cirrhosis, and suicide. Chronic stress can impair the development, growth in children by lowering the production of growth hormone from the pituitary gland. Chronic stress floods the brain with powerful hormones that are meant for short-term emergency situations, fight or flight. Chronic exposure can damage, shrink, and kill brain cells. Stress makes the blood stickier in preparation for an injury. Such a reaction, however, also increases the probability of developing a blood clot. And stress can alter blood sugar levels, which can cause mood swings, fatigue, hypoglycemia, and metabolic syndrome, a major risk factor for heart attack and diabetes. So you see, all of these responses in the body happen because we're geared to respond in a way that we're going to either have to fight or flee. But when there's no response required in the way of fighting or fleeing to use these physical responses, then it causes damage in the body. But what can we do about this? Well, let's look a little further. One more. Chronic stress worsens irritable bowel syndrome, IBS, a condition that irritates the large intestine and causes constipation, cramping, and bloating. Stress can exacerbate ulcers and keep them from healing. Chronic stress decreases the body's immune system's response to infection and can affect the person's response to immunizations. So even when you're getting some sort of assistance, it's not even helping. Stress can increase the ability of chemicals to pass the blood-brain barrier, which shields neurons from some poisons, viruses, toxins, and other fluctuations in normal blood chemistry. Post-traumatic stress physically changes children's brains. Specifically, stress shrinks the hippocampus, a part of the brain that stores and retrieves memories. Have you ever taken a test, gotten a little stressed out, and you knew the answer? You just knew you knew it, but it wouldn't come to you. Imagine your mind is like a garden hose, and when you're stressing, you're squeezing it and the less comes. But then after the test, the answer came to you. Stress can result in more headaches as a result of the body rerouting blood flow to other parts of the body. So it's evident that what we call stress, tension, the pressure that's going on emotionally, then leads to physical problems, difficulties, and even illness and disease. Now, here are the top 7 causes of stress. And I want to point these things out in order to create an awareness, in order for you to start looking at things a little differently, which is part of what we're going to talk about here. Of course, money, not just too little. There are people who all of a sudden come into a windfall of money and they are stressed out. Work, family, interaction, divorce, caregiving, empty nest, surprise pregnancy, relocation, or that schedule that you're doing when your kids are involved in so many things and you're involved in things and you're so stressed just trying to keep up. Personal concerns, standards, self-esteem, goals, bad habits, all putting pressure on you. Personal health and safety for self and others, personal relationships, and death. Other causes are overloading your senses, loud volume, visual clutter, horrible odors, any of your senses that get spiked becomes uncomfortable and causes stress. Perception and beliefs. This is something we're going to talk about because you see, The whole world and everything that you do is all based on how you quote unquote see it, your perception of reality. Reality is whatever it is, but five people could see the same thing differently because they perceive it differently. And also, though beliefs run our lives, keep in mind, beliefs are not facts. You only believe something until it's proven differently or otherwise. So beliefs can shift and change if you're willing to look at them and let go of them. Habitual worry, well, that's the constant negative thinking that leads to overactive nervous system and then what we call anxiousness or anxiety. Lack of managing stress triggers and responses. So there are things that are going to go on in life that may cause stress response, but without managing the stress triggers, the things that trigger you to become stressful, well, then you're just going to have to walk through it all without any feeling of involvement or a sense of control. But today that's going to change when I share with you how you can manage this. So here's the good news. There are things you can do to release tension and pressure, to reduce your stress, and to start managing it in a way. Eating moderate levels of dark chocolate reduces stress hormone levels. Now, that doesn't mean to fill your cabinet up with chocolate and eat it all the time. And additionally, cocoa is rich in antioxidants called flavonoids. Laughing lowers stress hormones like cortisol, epinephrine, and adrenaline, and strengthens the immune system by releasing health-enhancing hormones. The BBC reports that penetrative sex reduces stress hormones, while those who had no sex had the highest blood pressure. It's all about release. It's all about the energy that's built up inside and then just releasing it and feeling, just drained. Now you're not stressed anymore. And forgiveness. Now, forgiveness is not something we do for other people. We do it for ourselves to get well and move on. We could have an argument. You could forgive me about it. And I'd say, yes, so now you're more stressed. So it's not for the other person. It's for you to stop thinking about whatever happened in order for you to move on, regardless of how the other person feels or responds. Activities. Penetrative sex is one activity, but a casual walk in a calming environment, not down a city street where it's loud and your senses are being overloaded and you're causing stress. So it's counterintuitive. Massage, sports, playing. Just play. Go jump rope. I don't care how old you are. Jump rope. Bounce a ball. Play catch with somebody. Dancing. Put on the music. Be all alone and dance like a silly goose. Being creative. Whatever way that is. Woodworking. Artistically. Musically. Anything at all, scrapbooking, just be creative. And we're creative beings, so it's such a natural thing inside of us. Meditation and being in nature. Are there many people who take a walk in the woods or down the beach or by a river and they're stressing out the same way they do when they drive through the city? No, it's unnatural to respond that way. Here's one of the most important parts of this presentation and how you can start managing your response that is stressful. As Albert Einstein said, we cannot solve our problems with the same thinking we used when we created them. We know that expecting a different result by doing the same thing is insanity. So we need to transform your thinking. So what do I mean by this? Reframe. When there's a situation, you are responsible for how you react to it. No matter what it is, if somebody called you a name, if somebody was talking about you, anything that happens, you have a choice. You can either knee-jerk react emotionally, but I'd like you to start having this phrase, well, that's not going to help me. Think about it. This is a very self-first, selfish point of view, but you're the only one that's going to manage you, parent you, guide you, and do for you. Nobody else can do this for you. So you have a choice. Somebody cuts you off and you're driving, you can either freak out and scream and yell and go even worse than that, or you could just say, man, oh man, what is wrong with people? And be glad that you're safe. So this is your choice. There is no blaming. It's a responsibility to accept that you can reframe a situation and realize that no matter what comes up, think back in your life, and no matter what was challenging or difficult or even overwhelming, it passed. You know that saying, and this too shall pass. And naturally, we assimilate, we adapt, we adjust. So whatever's going on, well, there have been shifts and changes and adjustments throughout the history of the world and civilization. So we're simply adjusting, shifting, and reframing by looking at perception, whatever it is, a little differently in order to respond better. Now, here's something that's a great exercise. This is the second part of what you can do as far as these techniques that I'm sharing. Intentional imagery exercise. I want you to just notice how you feel as you look at this picture. You see, there's not a lot of dialogue needed. We say, a picture's worth 1,000 words. Well, what does that mean? That means you look at something and it would probably take hundreds or 1,000 words to describe everything that you're thinking and feeling and the response you're having. Notice how you feel as you simply just look at this picture. Okay? All right, now, watch what happens to your feelings, your emotional response when the picture changes. Do you feel just as comfortable and maybe as happy, or that pleasing pleasure kind of response like you did when you looked at that? Now, they're just pictures. Here's the really good news about this. Whenever you're feeling a stress response, and in order to be able to manage how you're feeling, you must be honest about yourself. It's okay. It's okay to say, man, there I go again, because it's a habitual emotional reaction. We don't just have physical habits. We have thought processing habits. We have emotional reaction habits. Something happens, that's how you respond. Something happens, this is what you think. Well, be honest about it and realize, well, that's not going to help me. So let's shift into a different way. Well, you don't have to have a physical picture. You don't have to have a physical landscape that you're a part of. Your imagination is where you create the pictures. So I have these go-to images, I call them. And my son is almost 30. However, when he was a small child and adorable and wonderful in the way children are, well, I just smile. I feel that warmth, that love, like I'm feeling right now, because that's the response I have to that image. It's an association. So change the image or create an image in your mind. And whenever you're feeling stressed, just go to it. Just eyes open or closed. Go to that image and manage your emotional response. It's really as easy as it sounds, but you have to do it. Okay, now a more personal look at managing stress, and that is with a faith system, some sort of belief system. You know, when I tell people or I ask people, do you have a faith system? Do you have a belief system? Do you believe in something other than yourself, no matter what it is? Well, if you up your faith game, you will reduce your stress levels because you won't feel all the pressures on you. Gratitude reduces your stress. Be thankful, be grateful. Be grateful for all the things in your life, especially the things we overlook, the little things. I was watching a video yesterday, and this gentleman said, if you earn $34,000 a year or more, you are in the 1% of the whole world, because the whole civilized world is so poor that if you make $34,000 a year, though in America, most people are thinking, well, how the heck can I live on that? But compared to the rest of the world, you're in the 1%. So be grateful that you're in this country or whatever country you're in that's civilized, progressive, and you can actually create a certain lifestyle. Confidence. With more confidence, you almost are more emotionally bulletproof, where your confidence levels and your self-esteem, your sense of self, all of a sudden things don't matter so much because you feel so confident in yourself. Your self-esteem is so strong that things go on and it doesn't affect you so much because you're not emotionally vulnerable. Now, there are ways to work on increasing your confidence levels and your self-esteem. Gratitude's easy, right? Just be grateful for the things you get. Even the people who bother you, be grateful that you have the option to either keep them in your life or not. Okay. Now, there are some other techniques here that I really don't want to spend all the time to teach and show you them, because you can simply go to YouTube. You could do a search and you can find demonstrations that are very clear and easy to follow. And I use these with my clients because they're very effective. Havening. Havening incorporates a lot of different components of how we manage our internal responses, emotional and thought process responses. You sit down comfortably, you cross your arms, you do some physical movements with your arms, and you use your imagination. It's very simple, but highly effective. So please search Havening demonstration and start applying it. EFT, or emotional freedom technique. There's also an TTT that you can look up, but EFT is also called tapping. Now, keep this in mind, folks. Along the way in life, there are things we hear, things we see, and we think they're crazy, silly, ridiculous, preposterous. And then all of a sudden, it becomes just commonplace. When I graduated high school in 1977, I had heard about acupuncture, and my response was, "What? They stick needles in you?" I love acupuncture. But you see, sometimes what is so foreign, so weird, as we say, once we understand it, it becomes commonplace. So, though some of what I'm sharing may seem a little, I don't like this phrase, out of the box, because I burned my box a long time ago. Never think inside or outside a box. Just get rid of those boundaries and limitations. But anything that I once thought was really weird and wacky, I've shifted my approach to life to say maybe. Just say maybe, folks. Say, well, maybe that will help me. And maybe it's worth trying. But life is made of choices. And what choices are you going to make to be a better you? So, breath work follows it. Now, breath work basically is breathing with intention, breathing certain ways, certain breath exercises, and breathing with massive intention. Wim Hof is a gentleman that you can research. And he shares, again, in videos on YouTube, a breathing exercise that is so profound and so beneficial that you won't believe it at first. There are also other forms of breath work, breath exercises, ways of breathing intentionally. Let me give you one very, very quick, simple breathing exercise that will help you tremendously. There are two parts to this technique as to why it works. One is the physiological approach of the breathing itself and what the oxygen does in your body. And the other is whenever you're focused on doing something like what I'm about to share, all of a sudden your focus went to something different. So that which was stressing you out is not being focused on. And that's something I should really make a point on here. Let's focus on this. You've heard the phrase, you can make a mountain out of a molehill. What that means is the more you focus on something, the bigger it gets, the more you feel it. You've talked about something that happened 30 years ago, or somebody brought it up. And eventually you say, you know what? Enough. Change the conversation. What's the matter? Just change the conversation, because now you're getting upset when it's a fantasy. It doesn't exist. It's something that happened 30 years ago. But yet, the emotional response inside is immediate. So, Einstein said, whatever you focus on expands, or wherever you put your attention, it grows. So, one way to immediately change the way you're feeling, and that intentional imagery exercise was one way to do this, is when you put your focus on something else, you won't feel what you were feeling associated to what you were thinking about. You know, one way you can do that is look at something in your environment, touch something and feel the response, the texture, the temperature of it. Now you brought your attention to something else and you broke the pattern between your ears. So you're going to feel something different. Okay, so here's this simple breathing technique, as you can go off on your own and learn the Wim Hof breathing technique. You sit comfortably. Well, first, let me share this with you. Take a deep breath right now. Just take a deep breath in. Now, probably your shoulders just raised up, your muscles are tight, and now when you exhale, it's all going to relax. Well, every breath is causing stress and tension in your body, breathing that way. That's breathing into your upper part of yourself. Now, there are 5 lobes in your lungs. We usually breathe very short and shallow, and we breathe into the upper 3 lobes. But when you breathe down into your diaphragm, which this exercise is going to help you do, you now get more oxygen into the lower 2 lobes, and immediately you have physiological benefit. Also, when you breathe down into your diaphragm, your rib cage expands, and all of a sudden, you start to get pressure on your organs, which exercises your organs, which makes them healthier. So, in order to do it properly, you sit down, maybe you put a hand on your belly. You're going to imagine your belly like a balloon, and you want to breathe down into the balloon and blow it up. So your belly expands while your shoulders and chest and arms stay relaxed. If you've had a baby, imagine and remember when that baby's lying in a crib, arms are out, laying on its back, and the only thing moving is that baby's belly going up and down, because the baby is functioning perfectly the way nature intended. So sit down, put a hand on your belly. You can do this now. When you breathe in, imagine breathing that air, whether you breathe in through your nose or mouth, but through your nose is better, all the way down. And maybe you imagine this like a blue balloon, or green like the grass or the color of leaves on the trees, a natural color that's soothing and comfortable. And simply breathe down and exhale out your mouth. And the whole time, your shoulders, arms, your neck, all of your upper body is calm and relaxed. No muscle response there. All happening down low into your diaphragm. Do that a few times. And now to add to it, put in one of those images. Maybe it's not the beach that you enjoy so much. Maybe it's a beautiful mountain scene, or sitting somewhere that you know, like maybe your back deck or a yard, but somewhere that's so peaceful. Maybe it's a place you've never been that you can imagine. Somewhere when you could be there, you would feel really good. So breathe down into your belly, keep your upper body calm and still, and exhale out your mouth, and just feel the comfort. And feel how good it feels to be independent, to be self-supporting, to be the person who's managing your own emotional responses, because it's your responsibility. So as you apply these techniques, it will become habit. You see, at first, you'll need a little conscious thought. You'll need to be aware, like, oh, there I go again. And please laugh at yourself. Just laugh at yourself. I'm going to give you an example of the difference in how you can react. More than once, when I was living in New Hampshire, and I'm from the New England area, Boston area, but when I was living in New Hampshire, I had property there, the power would go out during a snowstorm. And on the way down to the basement, I'd hit the light switch and I would laugh. And I'd say, wow, habits are something else. On the way back up the stairs, I'd hit the light switch again. How silly, right? Now, some people would actually get upset. They'd actually almost yell at themselves like, gee, I can't believe you. How stupid. Wow. You know, the world is going to throw some curveballs at you. Why throw them at yourself? Be your best supporter. Do some breathing exercises. Learn a few techniques. Change the pictures in your mind and change the way you feel. This is all available to you immediately. Now, it is never too late to start living the life that you really want. But the only way to live the life that you really want, if you haven't been so far, is you must change some of what you're doing. This information and all the information you're going to be gathering throughout this conference are the ways that you can start making a shift. You know, the arrow can't find its destination until it goes backward. 2 steps back, 5 steps forward. Understand that this time right now is an opportunity. You might, in 5, 6, 10 months, look back and say, man, you know what I could have done with all that time? I'll tell you what you can do with all this time. You can change your life. You can improve your situation. You can live happier and healthier and live with more quality of life. Now, if you are the person who wants to take your life back, who wants to increase your confidence, your self-esteem, and release the issues and blocks that are there logged in your mind, like downloads on a hard drive that you don't know how to release, simply go to prosperusa.com, a better you hypnosis. Look at the contact link and message me. But in the meantime, I just want to say thank you for being here. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.